page of fame. I'm doing another video for you guys. So I wanted to try something new with you guys today. So I really wanted to do something that I've wanted to do for a while. I know this channel has been all over the place, but I want to give this a shot and see what you guys think, see how you guys are rocking, and see if you guys, maybe I can get some more people to join in and do this with me. But I wanted to do a boxing episode. I don't think I've done ever a boxing episode, and I really, really wanted to do this one as my first one. It's a big fight that's coming up this Saturday. If you guys don't know, Top Rank is having two of their fighters on ESPN Plus. Pay-per-view is going to be Shawn Porter versus Terrence Crawford. It's going to be an absolute great fight. It's going to be very heavily in Las Vegas. I'm sorry. It's going to be very heavily requested fight. It's going to be something a lot of people are going to watch. I mean, this is going to be a big, big, big fight. So this is definitely something you want to make sure if you are going to be watching, or if you are a fan of boxing, you want to make sure that you check this out, because this could be a fight of the year contender. To me, this will be a fight of the year contender, and this is also a preview of the welterweight division in terms of what can Shawn Porter do differently that he didn't do in the Earl Spence fight. And I'm just going to give my 2 cents on this, and I want to do this almost every day. I want to do a video, and I really want to see if you guys will be rocking with it. I try to do tech. I don't think I talk tech well. I try to talk tech well. I've done a couple of videos where they've done really well, but I don't know. It just seems like every time I try to talk tech, like I think it in my head, it doesn't come out the same. It doesn't come out great. But so I just really wanted, and I have a sports voice. That's what some people have said. So I really want to go ahead and push the sports theme on here. I think the most. I got to talk car really well too, but that doesn't get as much views because I don't have a vehicle to start a staple of my channel with. So that's really why the car thing has never really gotten off the ground, and why I haven't been able to put that together. But the sports thing, I can definitely try and put this together and see how much further I could take this one. Because like I said, I really do want to get likes, subscribes. I really want to make this my passion, my go-to in life. I want to make this, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I really want to do this. This is what I really, really want to do, and I really want to put myself out there for that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my thoughts on the Shawn Porter versus Terrence Crawford this Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada. Two top-ranked fighters. So let's get into it here. I will speak on Terrence Crawford first, and the reason why I'm able to speak on this is because I have tons and tons and tons of years of knowledge of watching boxing since I was 6 years old. I can remember watching boxing. I have loved boxing, love the individual sport. That's actually my favorite individual sport. I enjoy it. It's actually probably one of my top 3 favorite sports behind. I'll say it like this. It's probably my number one sport in terms of me enjoyment, but it's not the most knowledgeable sport I'm actually on. I'm more knowledgeable technically in football and basketball, but I love talking boxing. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about, and one of my favorite things that I do know a lot about. I know styles and things like that. And I did watch the first 2 episodes of the Blood, Sweat, and Tears of the Terrence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. So I've seen what each one's been training, each one's been doing to prepare for the other one. So for Terrence Crawford, and you guys are going to see things along that can accentuate what I'm stating here. Terrence Crawford is an absolute great fighter. His record details it as much. The only problems that I could say that Terrence Crawford has currently in terms of his boxing skills is his resume. His resume isn't great. He doesn't have a list of fighters that are absolutely top notch and absolutely phenomenal like Shawn Porter has. Shawn Porter has fought everyone and anybody that's come through. A lot of people know that about him, but Terrence Crawford for some reason hasn't been able to get those fights. I can't tell you why, and I couldn't really give you a huge reason to why he's not where he's supposed to be. He is 37-0. He has 28 knockouts. He has very good numbers-wise, but his last fight was a year ago. This time, about a year ago, he fought on November 14th against Kell Brooks. He did win TKO. Kell Brooks did push him a little bit. I did want to mention that, where he was getting hit a couple times. There was a couple of times where I thought he looked unsettled, but I think he showed that he can really box with the best of them, especially later on when he adjusted to Kell Brooks and started really giving Kell Brooks hell and was really giving him a hard time in the ring. It made Kell Brooks very tight when he was getting hit to the body, and then when he went upstairs. And that's the best thing about Terrence Crawford. He has the best ability of being able to switch between hitting the body and hitting the head, switching the body, hitting the head, hitting the body, hitting the head. He's very good at that. He doesn't stick to one, which is why I don't like certain fighters that do that. Yes, you can be known for your body shots, but I don't want you to stick to your body shots only because, yes, that's good, but if somebody has great defense, they're going to be able to roll you every time doing that. So you got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to put things more together for me. Another fighter that I believe has a name out there, Mir Khan. That was obviously a name. They fought in New York City, Madison Square Garden. He fought that one in 2019 of April 20th. He did win that fight on TKO. He's won his last, I believe, he's won his last 5 fights with TKO. So that's a great thing on his resume currently. He's looking to extend that streak. For me, I don't think he's going to be able to extend that streak against Shawn Porter. We will see. But I think the Amir Khan fight was another fight where you could see him dominating that fight throughout as well. A fight that he did really well, but this current fighter just did extremely well because I think that fighter learned was Jose Benavidez. Jose Benavidez, I think if he was a rematch Jose Benavidez, I think would give him a hell of a fight, hell of a run for his money, and I think that could be something to look forward to down the line. And then another one, the biggest problem with Terrence Bud Crawford is like I said, his resume is so weak. I hate saying that because it's not fair that it's weak. It's really not his fault that it's weak. It just happens that this is what it is. Like his first big fight, I could say that was Yildiz Kimbola. When Yildiz Kimbola was 23-0 at this time, and it was 2014. So he fought him at Yildiz Kimbola was big time in Omaha, where he's from, and he gave him a great fight, and he beat him. I mean, he destroyed Yildiz Kimbola. To me, that's when I learned about Terrence Crawford. It was 2014 when he did that to Yildiz Kimbola. Because at that time, I thought Yildiz Kimbola was going to beat him. I thought, man, he can't touch Yildiz Kimbola in terms of, because Yildiz Kimbola at that time was power hungry. He was knocking guys out. He was giving it to them. But then his next couple of fights were against nobody that he shouldn't have fought. I mean, Armando Beltran, Thomas Dorme, and this is all because at that division of that weight class, it was hard for him to find fights. It was hard for him to get people that he wanted to get in the ring. And this time he wasn't known hugely other than that Yildiz Kimbola beating, but he wasn't super known like that. So there was unanimous decisions throughout. He had a couple of TKOs. He had a unanimous decision against Victor Postal. I mean, some of these fights he should have just knocked him out. It shouldn't have gone this far, which is another reason why, if you know Terrence Bud Crawford, you should feel like, okay, this should have been a little better for performances from him. Felix Diaz was another one. Jeff Horn was kind of big. He beat Manny Pacquiao. So a lot of people know Jeff Horn. He beat him in 2018 via TKO, like I said. But yeah, he's had a couple fights in New York, Las Vegas. I think to me his best fights are always have been in New York and Las Vegas. He's had a couple in Omaha. I don't really like his Omaha fights other than the Yildiz Kimbola fight, but it always seems like that moment's always like a little big for him, especially fighting at home. But extremely long arms. He is a southpaw. He is phenomenal at being able to change it up. So that's the good thing about Terrence Bud Crawford. Next guy I'm going to go into next is obviously his challenger. The guy to me he's going to have a tough time with is Shawn Porter. Because to me, Shawn Porter is a big time fighter. Now, he doesn't have as many knockouts as you would think for a 31-3 fighter. with one draw. He stepped on the scene in 2008, so he is starting to get to that older stage of his career. Originally from Akron, Ohio. He's at 35 professional bouts. He, to me, is going to be very interesting to see what he does. So a lot of people are going to reference back to that Earl Spence fight that a lot of people wanted to think that he was going to win. And to me, I'm going to be honest with you, I really thought that he was going to beat Earl Spence. I really did. He was giving Earl Spence real trouble, real displeasure. He was giving Earl the business. Problem is, with that Earl Spence fight, to me was Earl Spence knocked him down late, which really turned the tide of that fight and really gave Earl Spence the lead, because Shawn wasn't able to recover the rounds because it was really late when he got knocked down in that fight by a vicious right hook. That he left himself wide open and he took the shot. I'm glad he got back up and finished that fight to a very resounding successful fight I thought he had. The worst thing was he went down, and that was a terrible timing to go down. If he would have went down early in the fight and he could have clawed his way back and ended up winning the fight, but it was way too late in the fight for him to try to climb out of that. That fight was in Los Angeles, in the Staples Center. It was an absolute fun fight, great fight. I thought that was a Fight of the Year candidate for sure, because I thought that had a lot of suspense. I thought Earl was super unnerved. I really did have Shawn Porter winning that fight until he got knocked down. Once he got knocked down, he couldn't catch it back up. So, and the fight was already nip and tuck at that point. So I had it going to Earl Spence by one or 2 points, I believe, at the very end, which is very slim. If you know boxing, it is a very slim margin. It is that close. And he fought Earl Spence at 25-0 at that time. Earl Spence is 25-0. I'm sorry, not Shawn Porter's. Shawn Porter's other loss, Keith knockout Thurman. To me, that wasn't a big loss to me, because Keith Thurman at that time in 2016 was a huge fighter, was a fighter that was nobody wanted to fight. Nobody wanted to fight. He was the knockout king. He was knocking people left and right. He was 26-0 at that time. This was before he lost to Manny Pacquiao, who was in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. I loved it. He lost by unanimous decision. He did get beat in that fight. I did want to say that. He didn't give off the best impressions to me on that fight. I really got disappointed with Shawn a little bit with that Keith Thurman fight, because I felt like he allowed Keith Thurman to dictate a little bit more, because Keith Thurman's punches were vicious. Keith Thurman now, I don't think, is looking to fight really again. Before that, we're going to go back to the Kell Brooks. Nothing to really say there in the Step Up Center in Carson, California. He took a loss there. That was a very close fight, I thought, with him and Kell Brooks. I thought him and Kell Brooks put on a good show. It was very close. Could have went either way. But if you look at his professional career, which is Shawn Porter's, you see a lot of good fights. Against guys that are rising, against guys that he's well against. He just lost the big fights. And I have said that about Shawn Porter a ton of times, that he does lose the big fights. The one big fight that he did win, I thought, was in Brooklyn and Barclays Center, Devin Alexander beating him good in 2013. That was a very good win. Beating Paul Namajunas didn't matter. Paul Namajunas at that time wasn't a really good boxer at that time. Next big fight, Kell Brooks, he took an L. He beat Eric Bone. He beat Adrian Broner. At that point, that was 31, but he already had that one. Once Adrian Broner got that one, he was never the same. So I thought Shawn Porter winning really wasn't impressive, because he was a big fight at the time, but it wasn't a huge thing. Then he had the next big fight, Keith Thurman. Like I said, he got outboxed in that one by Keith, and Keith did a tremendous game plan with his crew about getting him to engage in that firefight at times, and Keith Thurman was winning those exchanges. So. But he came back, fought another tough fight though, in Brooklyn against Andre Berto, got a nice win. Went against Danny Garcia, and that was the time where I thought, he's back. Shawn Porter is back to being known again. because losing to Keith Thurman lost a lot of love, lost a lot of things off of him, and he had to go back. He had to go back, train, work again at it, and gave a great performance against Danny Garcia. I thought he won easy money, not even close, against Danny Garcia. And to me, Danny Garcia was never the same since that 2018 bout. Yugas, who fought recently, who beat Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was washed at that point. Let's just be real here. And get split decision win. It was a close fight, I thought, with him and Yugas. So that's something, if later on down the line, if he wants to fight again, I think that would be a great rematch. And then, obviously, the big fight, Errol Spence Jr. lost, split decision. Like I said, super strong showing by Shawn Porter. Very close fight. Like I said, his only issue is that he wants to engage too much, and he's too much of a firecracker in terms of he always wants to light it up, but sometimes stepping back in boxing sometimes, could be his best way to beat an opponent at times, and he's so reluctant to do that. I know why he's reluctant to do that, because of he wants to put on the show. He wants to make sure he gives people what they paid for, but sometimes reeling it in does Shawn a lot more help than it does harm. So that's something that he should really strive and work for, and I hope he has. I've watched the Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and it looks like his dad's really telling him, look, sometimes you don't have to engage all the time. Sometimes the jab, stick, move, hit, and keep doing that wins you rounds, wins you times of like in football terms, times of possession. So whoever gets the ball more usually wins. So in Shawn's case, whoever just tags him the most wins. It's not necessarily always, oh man, I gotta light him up in order to try to win this fight, because it doesn't always have to be a dog fight. So that's something that I think his father's doing a great job of teaching him. It is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the Terrence Crawford fight. So this was my first episode that I wanted to do for you guys. It was Terrence Crawford versus Shawn Porter in Las Vegas for the title belts of the World Welterweight titles. It's going to be an absolute firefight. I recommend anybody who's in love with boxing, or if you're new to boxing and you really want to see a good fight, that's the fight you want to see right there. It's been a great thing with him. Like I said, his nickname is Showtime, so Shawn Porter's going to be pretty much up there, doing his thing, being 5'7". So make sure to go out and watch that fight. This is my first episode that I wanted to do with you guys. There is going to be more episodes going forward, but this is just the first one I wanted to give out to you guys. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you can, and I'll see you in the next one.